What if I told you that the legendary demigod Heracles, the man famed for completing 12 near impossible labours, who travelled across the earth from east to west, who invented martial arts in order to slay his mortal enemies, who transcended humanity and reached godhood through his apotheosis, was, at one point in time, outmatched in combat? Within a location still disputed, either within the interior desert of Libya or the northwestern city of Tangier, in modern-day Morocco, there lived a man said to have been fathered by Poseidon and mothered by Gaia herself, a towering giant of godlike vigour named Antaeus. But despite his noble lineage, he was twisted and ruthless in his ways, as he forced any passers-by he crossed paths with to fight him in mortal combat. No, not that one. Combat with a C. But they stood no chance against him. This behemoth had skill that surpassed even his towering stature. After slaying his unfortunate foes, usually through asphyxiation, he would collect their skulls and use them to build a temple dedicated to his father, Poseidon. Setting sail from Crete, Heracles puts in at Libya to complete his 11th labour of attaining the golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides. But word had reached him about Antaeus, whose fame was noised abroad because of his skill in wrestling, and because he put to death any and all strangers he met. While traversing the desert through its scorching heat, Heracles encounters Antaeus. His eyes are intent upon some purpose, as if in contemplation of the contest, and he has put a curb upon his anger that it may not carry him beyond the bounds of prudence. He puts aside any excessive garments and wastes no time engaging the giant, but as the two grappled, Heracles was soon to notice that something was terribly wrong. Unlike any of his previous foes, Antaeus puts little resistance to being thrown to the ground. It's as though he welcomes it, because by doing so, he eases into the fall rather than getting struck by it. And with his back on the ground, he is even more powerful and skillful than he is while standing. His strength is not only renewed, but grows exponentially as soon as he comes into contact with the earth. None of Heracles' maneuvers are now working. He can neither pin nor immobilize Antaeus. At a loss for how to deal with the situation, Heracles figures he must regain control through the application of his own strength, and not by challenging his foe where he has him outmatched. He grabs Antaeus by the waist, recovers control of his legs just enough to gain a solid footing, and uses every ounce of his divine strength to stand back up, forcefully taking Antaeus with him. In desperation, the giant twists his body to better shift his weight towards the ground, but Heracles is too strong. He raises the murderous son of Poseidon high above the ground, pressing his forearm against the pit of Antaeus' stomach. With an echoing roar, Heracles squeezes Antaeus' body to its breaking point, ultimately crushing it until Antaeus can no longer draw breath. In his final moments, Antaeus looks down and reaches toward his mother, the earth, begging for the help she can no longer provide.
Before I move on, I need to give a special thanks to Sifis Magnas for his excellent narration. Also, if you'd like to help the channel and improve the quality of future videos, you can find the links in and around the description to provide your support. When speaking of ancient Greece and Libya, most sources mention the colonization of Cyrene in the late 7th century BCE, stating that the myth of Heracles and Antaeus is probably anachronistic. However, findings show that a link between Libya and Greece existed as far back as the late Minoan era. Therefore, there very well could have been an interaction between a native Bronze Age Berber and a Mycenaean Greek within the territory of Libya. Antaeus was also known in Berber mythology by the name Anti, and there are millennia-old sources of Berber locals claiming the whereabouts of his tomb. Some even say he was the founder of either Lix or Tinge, which lie in modern-day Lixus and Tangier respectively. What makes this myth particularly interesting is how it portrays groundwork. It's shown as a murderous art, worthy of a villain, but at the same time, powerful enough to cause the mighty demigod Heracles trouble in combat no less, a field where he is basically invincible. In terms of his style, Antaeus would purposely fall on his back to grapple, knowing he could outmatch his opponents on the ground. Fighting in this position is generally considered disadvantageous, but with a solid foundation in groundwork, one can use it to their advantage. Witnessing someone skillful enough to accomplish this would have seemed otherworldly at the time, hence the reason why we have the mythological elements inserted into the story. Antaeus would draw strength from the earth, and the more contact he had with it, like lying on his back, the stronger he would become. Many sources speak of this fight, from classical all the way to Byzantine Greece. These texts categorize Antaeus' wrestling as piratical, yet skillful. Multiple sources assert he was knowledgeable and had the expertise specifically related to groundwork, a skill which Antiochus states Heracles lacked. In the end, Heracles was victorious due to his quick wit, the overabundance of strength he possessed, and his arete, the excellence and favor of the gods that led him to Olympus and Antaeus to an early grave. But Heracles was not the only one who had to face a demigod wrestler who specialized in groundwork. Yes, there was another.